To start it off, going to start with a little bit of the technical side, because I think it helps explain how a lot of our products work in the end. So just one slide on some technical stuff, and bear with me here, and I hope this triangle makes sense. But I think if there's one thing to take away, if you can kind of understand what this triangle is saying, then it'll help you a lot when you're on the job out on the highway doing your construction. If you can think about eliminating one of these three elements from the triangle, then you can prevent a lot of issues for your job. So the first part is, you hear it all the time, ESC, erosion, sediment control. What's the difference between the two? So the first one, obviously, everyone's probably heard of is erosion. And erosion control is trying to keep the dirt from moving at all. So if you got a cut slope, if you leave the sediment in its place using some of our products, that's erosion control. Now, sediment control is after that dirt has maybe left either your job site or left the slope. How can you stop that sediment from either entering any fish-bearing water courses, any of your storm infrastructure? So first one is erosion control. The second one I kind of think of as a sediment control. So ideally, you don't need sediment control if you have all your erosion control in place because you don't have any dirt leaving your job site. So how do you get erosion or sediment control, or why do you need it? It's based on one of these three factors, and I like to call this the ESC triangle. In order to stop either erosion and sediment control, or the need for it, you just got to remove one of these three sides of the triangle. So I'll quickly explain it. Energy, so obviously that's, the slope. If you have water on top of a steep slope, and that water can pick up speed and energy, and there's sediment available for that water, that energy, and the sediment, you're going to get erosion. So if you remove, let's say, the energy, say it's just a flat piece of land, well, not very likely a lot of dirt or sediment is going to move from your job site. Vice versa, you could have a very steep slope and lots of sediment, but if there's no rain, no water, you've kind of routed your water around your job site, well, you're not going to have any erosion or sediment control. And then lastly, if you don't, if you leave all the vegetation in place, and you try to work around it and you kind of phase your project in a way where there's as little amount of sediment exposure, while you can have as much energy and water as you want. If there's no dirt exposed, then you're not going to have any problems with erosion or sediment control. So our products, BMP Supplies, each product we make kind of is designed to address one or two, or sometimes even three of these problems. So either blocking it from water, slowing down the energy, or covering up your dirt or your sediment. So I hope that makes sense. If you have questions at the end, definitely ask. But yeah, hopefully that explains the main basis of erosion and sediment control. So when you're on your job site, yeah, you can think about that triangle and say, how can I eliminate one of these? Sometimes you can't eliminate the water. Sometimes you can't prevent, so some of these elements you just have to work with in the field, but how can you help them? So I'm going to dive into these three main products and how it kind of removes one of those elements of the triangle. So we have erosion control blankets, we manufacture catch basin protection, and we manufacture straw wattles. So all these products we manufacture in Alberta using Alberta grown wheat straw. So the first one I'm going to talk about, and it's probably one of the main products for erosion and sediment control, especially within city limits. It's called an erosion control blanket. So you might have seen these, yeah, anywhere in Alberta. There's lots in Calgary where our facilities are. So what they are designed to do, obviously, they address all three of the triangle sides. So the nice thing about erosion control blankets, one of the products that actually does all three. So what it can do is obviously it separates rain splash from hitting the slope. So it's a big blanket you roll over the slope of your exposed soil. So it'll prevent rain from hitting directly on the soil because of its kind of coarseness and the manufacture of it. It slows down. It kind of disrupts the water as it flows down your slope, so it can kind of slow the energy down to prevent any sediment loss. And then it covers up obviously all your soil, so that prevents any erosion, any sloughing, helps it so you don't have to return, and it really helps grass seeds grow really quickly. Grass seeds stay moist underneath the blanket, so it grows really quickly, anywhere from 200 to 300% faster if you did not use a blanket. So that allows obviously the vegetation to establish and to really grab onto that dirt, so you don't have to go back to a job site. Yeah, so that's kind of the main what, when, and whys. So obviously we have three different types and what and when you would use them. They kind of spaced, depends on what you put inside your blanket, depends on how long it'll last. So it also applies to when you want to use it. So for the first kind, we have straw filled. They come in both like a standard plastic netting, or it comes in a biodegradable jute netting. That's kind of an all natural version that a lot of Western Canada is moving towards. This only lasts about anywhere from 3 to 12 months. So it's more of a short-term blanket, the straw filled. So if need a temporary quick cover of your job site, you're going to come back in 3 or 6 months, you might want to use straw filled blankets. Then we have a middle ground. It's a straw coconut blend. So this got actually coconut fibers mixed in with the straw fibers. And this obviously lasts a little bit longer than just straw. So coconut fibers just last longer than straw. It doesn't break down as quickly. So again, if you're going to be leaving a job site, but you're going to be coming back, say, let's in 12 to 16 months or 12 to 24 months, we want to use a straw coconut blend. And then lastly, it's kind of the most heavy duty blanket. It's coconut, 100% coconut filled blanket. And these are used usually at the end of a job site when you really want to protect your slope, let the grass establish. You've laid down your grass seed, you lay your coconut over top, and let the grass establish, and the blanket can last 24 to 36 months or longer, and really let that slope establish, and you'll never have to go back to it again. So these are the three kinds of blankets that you might see on your job sites. Some installation tips. I'm not going to read all these out, but yeah, for me, obviously blankets. I like to think of it kind of like almost like installing shingles or shakes on your roof. You want to make sure that the water is always overflowing kind of on top, and if you have any overlaps or cuts, that you make sure that there's proper overlap between one part of the blanket to the next. And then again, staples, I like to think of it as nails. The steeper the roof or steeper your gradient on your slope at your job site, the more nails you want to use. So we have some suggested staple patterns or staking patterns that you can use on your job site. Obviously, the steeper you go, the more staples you want to use to really secure down that blanket. Yeah, so that's the main thing. Yeah, if you can hand seed under the blanket before you place it down, make sure that the ground is nice and graded. Allows, yeah, you kind of want to think like your blanket to get as close to the soil as possible. That kind of helps the grass kind of bust through the blanket and really establish. So you don't want like big bunches. You want it laying nice and flat. So you kind of want to have a nice graded ground before you install your blankets. Um, yeah, so that's kind of the main kind of installation guide here. We have a lot of information on our website, like Paul had mentioned. So if you guys want, we have some toolbox talks that are going to be coming up on our website soon too about really breaks down installation techniques for all our products. So you can provide those after. Another product we have is all our catch basin protection. So these are, you'll see kind of all over the city limits. These kind of address two of the triangles. It can slow down the energy of the water, and then it can pull out some of the sediment that is in that water as it's running towards storm infrastructure. So again, these are mandated by a lot of local and provincial agencies. So what they do is, I know a lot of people are like, oh, they just cause flooding. They can cause some issues, but what it does is actually are multitude of things. It filters out sediment, and it also slows down the water, so it removes the energy of that triangle. When you slow down the water a little bit just before it enters the storm drain, the sediment in that water, the turbid water, has time to kind of drop out of the water before it enters the storm drains, which yeah, can cause obviously clogging, and a lot of those storm outlets can go into sensitive environments, so they can lead into fish habitat, and so just trying to get it at the inlet is important. So these are kind of our three main types that we manufacture. We have the sock, which is like an inlet protection that you strap on to the curb side. And this can be combined with the donut or the sack. There's an above grate protection or a below grate protection. And I'll explain the differences coming up on the next slides here. But yeah, these are the three main um, catch basin protection items we manufacture. So the main one that we see can get some issues is the donut. So how you install it is you actually take, before you put it in the grate, you put the donut upside down on the ground next to the grate. Then you pull off the grate and you actually slap the grate on top of the upside down donut. The donut comes with marked straps. So you can see here we have two orange, two yellow straps. You rip those around and tie it all together so it's nice and tight. And then once it's all secured to the grate, you flip it back on. Some of these donuts have a kind of a window, we call it. It's kind of an overflow window. So if there's any major storms, or if a donut isn't properly maintained, it can sometimes cause a little bit of flooding. So there's a window, and you want to make sure that that window is facing the traffic side, especially if you're putting a curb inlet filter, one of the socks behind it. If sometimes you can get the window and the sock facing each other, well then, all that happens is leaves and debris can block that window. So you want to keep that window open just to prevent any flooding or any issues. The next product we have is a CB sack, or a catch basin sack. This is pretty self-explanatory. Yeah, you just pull off your grate, you put in the sack. There's some extra material that goes around the opening of the inlet, and then you just simply put your grate back on, secure it in. You're probably wondering what these straps are for. So obviously this filters out the sediment. It's kind of like a big coffee filter, if you will. So all the larger, finer materials kind of accumulate inside this coffee filter over time. So at the end of the job, you can either vac truck the material out because these things get really heavy, or we have the lifting straps at the top here. So if you still have a piece of equipment on site, you can use your equipment to hook it onto your forklift, pull it up, or your excavators, pull it up, and dispose of it in an appropriate way. Maybe put it back onto a slope, grade it out, and you can seat it up. So that's what these yellow straps are for. Those are lifting straps. So you're able to lift it out of the grate before. And then lastly, yeah, our curb inlet filter. So this goes on the curb side of the storm drains. Obviously, some of these curbs will have this unique storm drain at the side of the curb. So you can they come with 3 straps. The design is to appease different municipalities. Some curb inlets have a middle bar in the middle of their drain. I think Alberta just has 2 bars on the sides. So depending on which one you're working with, you just strap it to the middle of the bar so that it's nice and secure. And this acts as, again, a filter as well. So water with sediment in it can kind of hit this curb inlet filter, filters out the sediment, lets the clean water enter your storm drain. So yeah, the big I think issue we hear or feedback we get is, your products sometimes don't work because they can cause blockage. Um, I'm a strong believer in, obviously, erosion sediment control products. I think of the big issue I found during my time working with them is just maintenance. It's one of those things where, yeah, you install it before the job starts, and then you kind of, you're so busy with putting the pipe in or getting the work done. After a while, you forget, oh, I should go back and repair, maintain some of this earlier erosion sediment control products I installed. So yeah, don't let your storm, your donuts or your catch basin fill up like this. Obviously, this doesn't allow for the water to filter through anymore. So the nice thing with the donut, it's above grate, so you can just take a broom, clean it all out just by hand, clean this all up, and it'll get back into good working order right away. So just, yeah, regular maintenance, keep your eye on them, make sure they don't get too plugged up. The last product I'm going to talk about is straw wattles. These are pretty common for city infrastructure jobs. These address kind of 2 items of the sediment erosion sediment control triangle. So they can either be used for erosion control on your slopes to slow down the water, or they can be used as sediment control as a perimeter um, uh, job. You can lay it instead of like silt fence. You can use straw wattles for your perimeter of your job. That way, if any water is about to leave your job site with sediment in it, it will filter through. We've done some extensive lab testing on these. They got about a 90% filtration rate. So about 90% of the sediment will get filtered out through these products, so that keeps anything leaving your job site clean. Yeah, so like I said, there's different ways you can use it. Again, you can use it as sediment control, as perimeter around your job site, or you can actually use them to kind of break up a steep slope. So the reason you would do that is for the energy side of the erosion control triangle. If you have a really, really long, doesn't even have to be that steep, but say just a very long slope, what you can do is lay these across your slope in order to kind of slow down any water or any rain that hits that slope. As it hits these wattles, it'll slow the water down. And by slowing the energy down, you're obviously going to create the ability for the slope to maintain. If it runs too fast, if the water's getting too fast down your slope, that's when you can start to see sloughing and big erosion rills on the side of your slope. So you can use this as an erosion control method. And then lastly, like I said, you can use it as a perimeter control to filter out sediment. So the main issue I see with these, and I find they work a lot better, is if you just do a little bit of trenching before you install them. So a lot of times they just get slapped on top of the ground, and that they work. It's not the end of the world. But to really get the most out of this product, if you can just kind of with a shovel scrape a 1 to 3 inch trench where you're going to place it and kind of put it in a nice groove, and then put your stakes in it to really secure it down, that's where you'll see them work the best. So I would just kind of focus on the trench aspect. That's kind of my one takeaway for this, is just to make sure you put a trench in that allows the water not to get under it. It allows, if it is a perimeter control, the water to run right through the middle to really filter out any sediment. So yeah, that's kind of my main takeaway on these. Yeah, so went over those three main products. I hope that triangle made a little bit of sense for you guys and what our products do, and if you got them in the field. So yeah, let Paul and or I know if you have any questions on any of our products or any other ESC questions. Thanks for having us.